The future is here. An innovation that will change the way the industry works. A Hot 100 chart, updated daily. The most accurate price guide on the market. Every card has its own profile with a wealth of information. Know the precise, real-time value of any card in the system. On demand. You now have the power to unlock the secrets of the hobby. The game changer is here. Card Ladder.
What's up, Nate? Oh, hey, while you're on that topic, why don't you give everyone a little explanation of kind of like your moving story and why, and sort of like how it relates to Card Ladder.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of layers to that, but the short story of it is Christine and I have relocated to the Northern Illinois area, and now we are linked up. Many people don't know who Stiff Arm Wax is, but that's my brother, and he is a very talented video producer and graphic artist and everything. And so we're able to link up with him and work with him out here. We have some stuff in the works. That's all I'm going to really say about that. You know, able to be close to family while working on Card Ladder is amazing. And yeah, it's a very exciting time for Card Ladder, for the Card Ladder team. Gonna have my first winter in about 4 years, so looking forward to that. But it's nice to be back in the hometown area. Hometown local shops, they got the bargains going in the display cases. Every time I go, I just have to buy stuff. So it's nice to be back. Yeah, man.
I think it's it's exciting for Card Ladder, like just showing how like serious we are about it, and how we're like changing our lives for it. You guys are moving permanently, and it's exciting. Like I told you, I always tell you this, but like the most important thing to the success of Card Ladder to me is the like continued signs of growth from us, like showing people that have bought it and stuck with it, and like our loyal supporters at the beginning, showing those people that like we're going to keep growing it and keep improving it, and not like punch out 10 features and walk away and let it go on autopilot. Like we're going to keep at it. And I think that's where you and I that's where we get the most support, is knowing that like we're here for the long haul.
Dude, we sure are.
Coleman.
Dude, Coleman, bro. See you in Dallas soon. And the other thing is, dude, we're rolling out our biggest feature we've done by a landslide next week. So, app is great. You can also, it is coming, but you can also use the site on mobile seamlessly. And I've used the new feature on mobile. It's amazing. So just stay tuned for next week. Yeah, but I want to underscore everything you said too, Ben. Card Ladder, our role in the hobby, our belief in the hobby, I mean, it couldn't be stronger. And this might be an appropriate time to just thank people, everybody who supported us. We really appreciate that.
I was showing you the numbers today, but basically our support and our number of subscribers has gone up during this huge downturn in the hobby where prices are falling, and our subscribers have still gone up. And I think that's more of a testament to, like our effort and what we're trying to build, and our genuine care for what it is, and not just trying to make money, but like people actually want to support what it is. And
yeah, that's awesome. And we've managed to curate a group of members of Card Ladder, all of whom are probably pretty similar minded people. They're smart, they like data, and they collect nice cards. not a bad group of people to be among, I think. And I think what we've ended up doing is assembling a group of people that all kind of think the way we do. Very bullish on the hobby, very long term, very smart people who like navigate the hobby in ways that I learn from all the time. So
Lamine wants to know what it is.
what do you mean, Lamim? All you gotta do is DM, man. You got the inside track, bro. Anything you need, Lamim, you got it.
Dude, Lamine was like, had my whole family cracking up last weekend because he made the Honda Civic video of me and like my son and I went down the rabbit hole of like looking at all of his memes. And Lamine, Christian, our favorite one was when you had the Shannon Sharp and he's like you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
My son was pestering me, like, no joke, like 50 times. He's like, play the cack one more time, come on.
Lamim is for the kids. Lamim is for the kids. Yeah, dude, no lie. Somebody said, Grant said this in the previous chat. He said Lamim is either the best or the most important hobby Instagram account. And, like, I totally agree with that. That account is so clutch. And it gives voice to so many sentiments in the hobby in like a really creative way. Like, keep it up, Lamim.
And he's also like in the hobby, like he's buying cards as well. So it's not like it's all just like it's like I equate it to Jon Stewart. Like Jon Stewart is a comedian and he's like poking fun at a lot of stuff, but he also like has his own opinions on politics, and he's critically important to how politics work because he's like the person shining a light on it through comedy, and it's like a very unique way that's important.
Dude, well said. Lamim, dude, when a guy like Grant says you have the best page in the hobby, like that's crazy. Keep it going, dude. You're reaching people you might not even think you're reaching with the heat that you provide. We have so many questions left. Let me hit up one of them. And I'm asking this question. Lamim wants a spoiler. So Lamim actually blew off like the first 10 minutes of our live, apparently.
Just keep going. I'll give it to him. Go.
Okay. So like I want to bring up this question not because I know very much about this, but because I wanted to shed light on it because the author of the question apparently knows a bit about it. So this came from Hawks and Habs PC. He said, can you guys talk about Instagram accounts with 1,000 followers, but only a few posts? I'm not sure if they are deleting older posts due to scamming, but I notice it's mostly people who are into razzing. It's just a little concerning. So,
I mean, you can pay for Instagram marketing and just like get followers that way. Another way, you and I know a lot of accounts that do this. There's a few meme maker accounts out there that like to poke fun at this topic, but like someone will have 30,000 followers, and then when they make a post, it gets like 100 likes, and then you and I have like far less followers, and our posts get more likes, and it's just like when you pay to get followers, your engagement is really low, and the engagement that you and I have is 100% genuine. We've never paid for followers and stuff, so like every person that follows us wants to follow us to some extent, so you get higher engagement. So if you do see someone that gets low likes and they have a ton of followers, it's generally because they I guess his question was more about like the number of posts to the followers, and they could be deleting, but in general it's usually that they're paying and marketing on certain posts they have to get followers.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of good points made there. The other thing too, I'll take this as an occasion to say that like in the hobby, like one high quality collector who's like a follower of yours or in your network is more valuable than 100 casuals who are just kind of dipping a toe into the hobby or have a fleeting interest in the content that's being made. And I've always, and I know you have too, always sought out to network with and connect with those high qualities people. So you got to think about that too when you kind of look at a person's clout or influence in the hobby. Not only how many people are behind them, but what's the quality of the people that they're affiliated with too? That question matters quite a bit.
Can I?
Uh,
Someone, sorry to divert, but someone asked about PWCC, and I feel like I just need to say it. I have 100% confidence in PWCC. Like their leadership is very strong. I know Brent. I know their team. I speak with them. This is coming from someone who I feel like you and I are very respected in the hobby. So like, and there's just a lot of chatter about people like questioning PWCC and shilling and all this stuff. PWCC is running on an eBay platform, so they are at the mercy of eBay's bidding policies, etc. But like PWCC, if they don't get paid for an item, they will relist. And if there is something of an issue with a listing, they will take it down. They will make the seller who sent it to them deal with the item, or they will help them deal with it, or they will block them. So like PWCC is doing, in my opinion, everything they can to be as completely transparent and upfront and honest and accurate with their listings. So like, try to like dig in and like have more positive intent with PWCC as opposed to just like assuming that they're shilling their auctions, because they have more incentive than anyone in the hobby to do things the right way, because their whole thing is like long-term growth, and the only way they can do that is by doing things the right way. I'm not going to speak for the other auction houses because I don't have 100% confidence, but PWCC I do.
Yeah, that's really well said. They have a number of policies that are helpful. And one of them, like you said, is if an item is unpaid, it relists. That's a very helpful policy. It helps us understand what got paid and what didn't get paid. And then an extra layer of transparency that they add on is that on their website, if an item does not get paid, it is removed from the PWCC. They have two search engines: the PWCC database, which lists only cards that have sold through PWCC. It is removed from that database. So if you ever wanted to historically go and look back and see, was this particular sale on this day paid for, if it's in the database, PWCC's stated policy is that that means it was paid. And if it's not in the database, that means that it wasn't. And I've found instances of both. But then the other thing too is that then when you use that methodology to like go back and check, like, okay, so how much stuff actually is getting paid? The incidence of items that are paid is like super high. I haven't done a formal calculation, but it's got to be in the upper 90% of items that end up getting paid. So,
And they block people that don't pay. So like they just are ever increasingly upping their average of payments.
They're ruthless with it too. I had a friend win an auction, on an item, and he thought about not paying, and like they were ruthless. They were like, if you don't pay, you are blocked for life. You are gone. Great policy to have.
Yeah, there's just like a little bit of like negative intent or negative assumptions in the hobby, and I think it's good to like have your guard up and like be cautious with things. But in general, like when I first approach something, I try to have some positive assumption of intent. It just like ends up making you happier as a person in the long run if you do that. So I think before you like go bash an auction house, maybe like do some research, ask around. So this is me giving you my stamp of approval on PWCC. The turnaround, it's like as a seller, it is kind of slow, right? Like if you send something, you're not going to get paid for it for about 2 months on average. Just be aware of that.
And you can try to time that a little bit better. You can send your card in close to the deadline, so that, because if you don't, you could send at the very early beginning of the window, and then it could take even longer before that get paid. Okay, so Whitty, so these are great questions too, and like what Josh said, keep your guard up. So Whitty says, guys, please explain these two sales of LeBron James 2018 Prism Silver PSA 10s that sold for $3,000. I saw those sales come in. Dude, there is something very fishy going on. Obviously, those sales were not permitted to enter into Card Ladder's database for a million reasons. The main one being that like there literally is one of, or at least at the time of the sale, there was one available on eBay for $400, you literally could have gone on eBay and bought one for less than 15% of the price that it sold for. So yeah, when people do that, and like Josh said, I mean, we have a number of different like things that we look at before we admit a sale that's questionable into the database, but that's one of them. Is like if a card can be bought for 15% of what it just sold for, then it's not coming into the database as a legit sale. So you have to go and look, and like what Josh was saying, PWCC is at the mercy of eBay, and any auction house is at the mercy ultimately of the people that bid on the items. And that 2018 Prism Silver LeBron, there were also auctions running when I looked with independent sellers and with Probstein that were also being shilled to over $1,000. It just ludicrous stuff. There's not a chance, in my opinion, that item gets paid. That's why the policy of like removing unpaid items is a good one. That's why the policy of banning people who don't pay for things is a good one. But it does happen. And like, I do see also when I look at sales histories of cards on PWCC, like especially like kind of like lower end, like vintage or like lower end, like 80s and 90s basketball cards and stuff, I'll see that there will be these PWCC sales that will be 2x what the card was selling for at that same time in like 2015, 16, 17, you know, and that sucks. If that stuff got shilled, which it probably did, that sucks. So, and then you also have like these weird outliers where like you have two bidders who just both think if I just put in 5x what the card is worth, then I'll just win. And I don't mind if I overpay a little bit. Well, if two bidders think that, then you end up getting two people putting in asinine amounts and winning a card. It's like all that stuff can happen. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that too.
Yeah, I guess I would just say that like in general, it's not always someone trying to be evil. Like it's sometimes it is and sometimes it's not.
Yeah, for sure. Great question though, and a great topic. Look, you know, since we're on the topic of shilling, let me shill for Card Ladder for a second. Literally, this is one of the most important features that we have to me is that like we actually review data, and we clean data, and we don't let bogus data into our data set, so that somebody can go and pull up a graph and show that the 2018 Prism LeBron Silver PSA 10 is now a $3,000 card. Like, but if you're using a tool or a website or eBay sold and completed, and you know somebody can just go pull that up really quick and say, look, this card sold for this, and there's a couple sales at this price. You know, that's a big problem. It's a big problem that we have is inaccurate and bad data. And that's one of the main impetuses for why we started, was to get a clean, orderly data set that's vetted.
I would hope that the sentence I want to hear one day is like someone trying to sell a card privately for 2x the market because they saw a comp that was shilled or something, and the buyer coming back and being like, well, Card Ladder doesn't have that sale that you're talking about, and this is the actual price. It's like, I got the real data, bro.
Yes, that's what we're here for. That's a huge, huge passion project of ours, is to give the closest approximation to true information about sales consummation. That's a lot of Asians there. That's what we want to do, is try and get as close as humanly possible to giving accurate data about sports card transactions. And we will not be perfect. It will be impossible to be perfect, but that's the aim.
Nice try, bro.
Vetted comps equals gold. Exactly. Okay. Lamim has put the punctuation mark on that one. All right. This came in from Buzzer Beater Cards. Lefko asked about this like a month or two ago. And I continue to think about it a little bit. I have a couple thoughts on this. Buzzer Beater Cards says, if the economy were to collapse after the election, how do you see that impacting the card market for players like Giannis and LeBron and Luka? And then how do you see it impacting players like Michael Porter Jr., Hero, and other young or unproven players? So I'll get your thoughts on this. I want to, but you can emphasize whatever you want. But like, I want to really like focus on just like, even if you don't segment it into like this player type, this other player type, what do you think the impact is on cards if there's an economic collapse after the election?
I mean, we literally just saw a sneak peek of it in the last month. You know, like we saw what things folded under pressure and what cards went down and which ones didn't. And then some of them they didn't because they're so rare. I think it's just that we just got a really great glimpse into what happens in a market downturn in the hobby because we haven't had one in a really long time. So it could be a primer for a bigger one potentially with the election coming up and some sort of market crash. Listen, uh, cards are sports cards and hobbies and collectibles are not what's the word safeguarded from market crashes. Like this isn't like some safe haven investment where you're just like protected empirically from everything because sports cards are better than everything else. It's not true. If the market crashes, sports cards will definitely go down. And if people need money during a market crash, they need money to pay bills, pay their mortgage, and feed their families. They're going to sell their sports cards. So it's the same thing that we just went through, where the things that people are going to sell first are their common cards, the cards they can get back later, their base cards, their players they don't trust as much, like heroes and MPJs, and the things they're going to keep. At the end of the line, it's almost like I said, if I'm making a ranked list of things I'm going to sell in order to pay for things that are more important than cards, I'm going to rank them in reverse order of like, here's the stuff I sell based on how easy it is to get and how commons, and it's going to be non-LeBron stuff for me, non-high end, right? Like I'm just going to chip away at those and eventually work my way down. So I think it's the same sort of thought process that goes into the market crash.
Yeah, it depends upon the type of market crash as well, right? Like, is the market crash something where the type of person who buys sports cards loses their income? If that's the case, then that's it's a simple logical step to then say, well, if a person who normally buys sports cards no longer has income to buy sports cards or to no longer even provide for other basic necessities, like it's pretty easy to figure out what follows. But we can see other type of crashes as well. Like the COVID-19 induced crash was a stock market crash among other types of crashes. And in that moment, we saw sports cards go absolutely nuts. But it's not clear if there's any causal relationship to the stock market crashing and the country and the world shutting down and sports cards going up, or if it was just kind of if there was some other factor, like because COVID hit, everybody had time, they started discovering cards again, they had more disposable income relative to before because they couldn't spend it on going out. Like we don't know how to tell that story properly. So but there is one recent historical incident, occurrence where like markets crashed and cards did like unbelievably well. So it's just a data point to think about. And then when I was talking to Beckett, Dr. Beckett, he brought up the crash of like 1987 or 88. The details are escaping me, but he said there was a stock market crash in the late 80s that he lived through. It as a pioneer, is like right at the forefront of the hobby. And he said like during that crash, sports cards did extremely well. So you never want to like tell yourself that, hey, sports cards are this invincible thing, like that it's just foolproof. Like if we all start thinking that, we're in trouble. That's when you start getting like a speculative bubble. You want to be really realistic about what can happen and about short-term trends, long-term trends. You want to think about all that stuff. You don't want to think that sports cards are invincible. But there are interesting things that have happened in the very recent past that have defied what common sense told me would have happened. Like there is no world in which prior to COVID, if you told me COVID was going to happen, that like sports cards would have begun increasing in value as a result of it. So this stuff is hard to predict.
Yeah. The other thing I'd point out, it's been brought up a couple of times, but it's like in 2008, there was like a market crash in general, like over the population and stocks crashed. But like that moment in time has produced like the most millionaires in human history, because like a lot of the really savvy, smart people at that time in 2008 stepped back and said, hold on, this is actually an opportunity for me to buy into the American stock market and the American like future, because I believe in business in this country, and I can get, very savvy people bought that massive dip, and they bought a lot of it. And same can be said for sports cards. Like if there's a big dip and you believe in the market and you believe in like what it is, that's the best time to buy. It's like you should be happy. You should be embracing it and like figuring out how to make the most money from it and the most like opportunity. The people that panic in general, like it's the same old saying that Buffett always says, like when everyone's panicking, that's when you should get greedy. And when everyone's greedy, you should be panicking, right? Like the general population, the general public is going to panic and freak out and make all these terrible decisions. But if you are intelligent, calm, rational, thoughtful person, that's when you can actually do the best.
Yeah, well said. And we people made a lot of money in the hobby this year. The people who bought stuff during that first 2-week window of COVID,
Mm-hmm.
when everybody kind of froze, myself included. I didn't sell anything. I didn't buy anything. I just said, I'm going to relax and chill and just see what happens. People who had the courage to go buy up, people had the courage to go buy stuff during that little window, like made an absolute killing just a few months later. So
like if your goal is like 10 years in the future on cards, and let's say your cards lose, like your card value just gets chopped in half tomorrow, like the market just shits the bed and you lose half the value in all your cards, the average person is going to freak out about that and lose their minds and sell a bunch of stuff. The intelligent person is going to say, okay, well, if this is a 10-year game and I just lost half the value, it doesn't matter. I didn't lose half the value because I'm not selling it today. So, like, technically on the market, my cards are worth half as much as they were yesterday, but, like, in 10 years, it won't matter. So, like, I'm not worried about it today. Actually, because everything got cut in half, let me go buy more and cost average down on it. Like,
it's a good point. And it's something to think about. Always, not just because an election is coming up, but like always be thinking about what would I do if situation A, B, or C happened, and then you have a little bit of a plan going. What? Okay, we kind of talked about a little bit of this. So we had some questions about inserts. Jimmy the Butler said, "What is the best modern insert?" You just showed one of them off in hour one. Do you have any opinions on that? What's the best modern insert?
Kaboom is cool, Color Blast. I don't really keep up with the modern insert game too much. I don't have much else.
Yeah, I don't have a ton to chime in on that either. Mostly because like a lot of the inserts are newer. But I think stained glass is a really nice one, a nice mainstay. It's been around for a while. And the ones you said, Color Blast and Kaboom, are obviously nice too. Rookie Patch Auto says someone picked up the Kobe Green PMG during the stock market crash for 100K. There you go.
That dude made 100K already.
That's unbelievable. Adam says late 90s isn't modern. What do we call late 90s? It's not vintage. Vintage means something aesthetically specific.
I just like to call it 90s because the 90s kind of encompasses for me like the whole introduction of parallels and inserts and everything. So it just kind of like deserves its own little era. And I like the early 2000s to be like the exquisite era. It's like vintage, junk, 90s, exquisite, modern.
There you go. Nice looking cardboard says horizontal versus vertical RPAs. Do you have a preference and thoughts on price variation?
Yeah, the horizontal is way more accepted as the main one. There's a few exceptions to that rule, like the last year of football, I think the main one was horizontal for some reason, and then like 2011 football, it's horizontal. Steph Curry's is horizontal, so like there's some exceptions, but in general, the vertical is more important.
Yeah, and like the variations can start to get to be a bit much.
Confusing, yeah.
Yeah, go with the true. whatever the true is, if it's horizontal, like it was for AD and Kawhi or somebody, but if it's vertical, that's awesome. I think a nice, beautiful vertical RPA that all goes back to the LeBron exquisite RPA, which is the origin of all of this.
There you go. 99 horizontal, 99 vertical.
Yep.
Can't beat it.
Just Jason says vintage basketball is cooling down and vintage football is heating up.
Did I not predict that last week? Did I not predict that?
Yep.
I'm not even that smart. I'm not that smart of a guy. I just see that it went up too fast, and it's gonna go down. Like, it's not that fucking hard.
That is, let me just have a small riff about stuff going up too fast. What that does is it makes people who are paying attention to the market bring their copies to the market to cash out. Especially if it's especially if it's like a card that has been in collections for a long time, or it's a card that's just seen as a commodity. Like, if that stuff goes up really fast, a bunch of people are going to sell it. Supply is going to overtake demand. The price is going to go back down. It's like that sums up the month of August. You might as well just block August off of any graph. Just don't even look at it and just see what the trend line looks like if you take that month away.
So vintage basketball is going down? Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, and he's right. Some of it is. Like, the stuff that went up too fast is. Some Kareem stuff, some Maravich stuff, I think.
And vintage football is going up?
I'll have to take his word for that. I don't know.
I mean, football just started and basketball is coming to an end. Like, the speculation on basketball is ending and the speculation on football is starting. It's not surprising. And then so here, like, the modern football is going down because people have started playing and they're not meeting expectations. There's a ton of injuries and everyone's prices are going down, and vintage is going up because they're doing the same thing that happened with modern basketball when it went down. They're moving it to vintage, which is safer because guys aren't getting injured. And then that's going to go up too fast and come back down, and we're just going to be back on this. This is kind of the cool thing about cards, man, is that, like, it fluctuates so damn fast that, like, you can make so much money on these day-to-day, like you just see the same pattern over and over and over and just capitalize. So, like,
Yeah.
Sell your vintage football right now and go buy modern basketball, like, because it's the same fucking thing.
Yep. Very true. Mikey said, can we get a bubble blocker on the ladder? Oh, that's funny.
What's a what?
Like, can we block the speculative bubble that happened in August? You can just push a button and take that off.
It's like blurs it out.
But it's important to see that bubble. It's important to remember that bubble existed, and that talk about learning from cycles. Like, there's a lot to be learned there.
There's a reason that people that are really good at the stock market study graphs all day, and there's a reason that graphs are a popular trend in the hobby right now, because that's where you can learn a lot of information, right? You can follow the patterns based on time, and, like, as it fluctuates into the future, like, and you can learn a lot from that data and figure out what's going to happen next.
For
there's
sure.
nothing you can learn. There's no better way to learn what's going to happen in the future than to study the past. That's some deep shit right there.
I totally agree. The history of the hobby matters so much, and it's hard to get to it. Like, if you want to look up the price history of a card, eBay only lets you go 3 months. Websites that search eBay and provide, like, best offer accepted only lets you go 3 months. We, like, take the time and the effort to build all-time sales histories of cards, specifically because it's one of our core philosophies that we believe history matters. The history of cards matters. And studying Giannis, dude, he has had the same cycle 4 times where his card peaked during a media event or, like, a big moment for him, and then it lost half of its value. It's happened 4 times. Do you want to know what happens after that? Go look at the graph, set the scale to logarithmic, and you can just literally see the same pattern play, because logarithmic lets you track rate of growth rather than absolute dollar change. You can see the same thing happen again. You can try and get an idea of what comes next in the market for a player like that.
I said this last week, and I'm going to say it again, very seriously, looking into the camera, dead serious. Do not follow content that tells you picks. Follow content that teaches you how to learn it yourself. It's dead. It's just as simple as that. It just is. Like, you got some doofus up there giving you his top five. He's telling you 5 cards that he owns a lot of and he wants you to buy. Listen to the guy with experience and knowledge and that has actual credentials teaching you how to do it. It's that simple.
It is. It definitely is. Like, yeah. Yep. So Adam, this is a good question. So will we use Sports Card Show or non-auction sales data? We do use non-auction eBay data all the time. We do use that, but like Sports Card Show data, like we would use that data if we got to a point where like we didn't have other data at all. And I don't think that would mean we would be back like to back it in the 90s. So like, I don't think that would ever happen. I think we'll always have these online marketplaces that give good data. We're going to have a new marketplace that's going to be generating some potential data here shortly, which I'm very excited about. But verification, super important. Obviously, like that's the number one goal here. If we cannot verify with a certain level of confidence that a sale will be consummated, then that data is never going to see the light of day in our database.
AKA, if my man Chris says it's not a legit sale, it ain't a legit sale.
I don't want that. It's more like this. We have a procedure. We look at certain factors. We weigh them. That's how we try to get it right.
All right, Mr. Lawyer. Mr. Lawyer's trying to dress it up a little bit. Have you added notifications? Not yet. We have some notifications platform work in the process through Marketplace that we'll start expanding on with other things. Notifications are coming. Year number 2, guys. It's getting fun. Do you do you want to talk about the alt thing or no? Like the marginal, sorry, what's it called?
Yeah, the buying
Fractional.
shares of cards.
Fractional.
Yeah, right. Fractional shares. Well, what do you think about it?
I think it's good for the hobby in general. It's not for me. But I mean, honestly, like any new sort of like platform or idea or innovation within the hobby is good for the hobby. You know, like it's just like another thing being added to the pile of like keeping more people or bringing more people in through whatever avenue attracts them the most. And that's why this is why I don't like shit on breaking. I would never break. I think it's ridiculous. I don't understand it. But I welcome it because I know that it brings people in through some avenue that I don't understand. And I welcome it. And they're all important, I think. So for us to just sit on our high horse and like shit on other things like that is not smart on our part, especially with the two of us having so much invested in the hobby. Like, it's not smart on our part to just like shit on other platforms. Like, we should be embracing everything.
So many good points. I like the analogy to breaking. Like there are these different pockets of the hobby that bring in different types of people that are interesting for different reasons, and they all sort of contribute to the same rising tide.
Well, people ask me about breaking all the time, and I'm like, it's important. Keep doing it. Good job. I have nothing else. I don't know anything about it. So like, I'll just let you do your thing, man. Like,
it serves a function too, beyond like, supporting the economic infrastructure of the hobby and supporting shops and like distributors and the whole model. Somebody has to pull them cards out too. Somebody has to get those cards out as well. So look, I have some thoughts about what alt is doing and like investing in stocks or shares of cards. And like the first one that I have is that when a card is presented as something that's worth selling shares in, and a card is put in a vault and it's guarded by security, and like, people are building entire platforms around the idea that you can buy shares in cards and then they sell out like instantly, like they have been with like Collectible and some of these other apps. That all sends signals that like cards are entering a new echelon or a new frontier that they hadn't previously occupied.
Yeah.
And that adds to the prestige of cards, without a doubt. That makes cards seem more desirable, more prestigious, more interesting. Good for the hobby. But the flip side of it, the thing that makes me apprehensive about it, is that it risks completely veering away from the fundamentals that made the sports card market what they are, which is pride and joy of ownership, if I could just put it into a phrase. So, you know, owning a card involves being able to go look at it, being able to share it, being able to brag about it, stuff like that. And it's a little bit harder to engage in all that if you just own a share of a card. But on the other hand, if like these funds like decided like, okay, we're going to have a fund with all these cards, but they're not just going to sit in a vault all the time. We're going to like do a pop-up museum tour in like Beverly Hills and Chicago and New York. And we're going to show off these cards, and the owners of them will be VIPs at these shows. If they did stuff like that, now you're starting to get back to some of the things that make cards collectible in the first place. So just a couple of thoughts there.
Yeah. It's like, you know, you and I are sort of touching on something which is like just balance, you know, like I'm saying bring it on, you're saying bring it on with some caution, right? Like it's the same kind of thing it's the same way you should approach almost anything that comes at you that's new, is like go at it with positive intent, proceed with caution, learn more about it, continue on. Make your opinion about it after you've studied it. Don't make the quick judgment on what it is. Understand what it is. And I wish everyone thought that way, like in the world of politics and stuff. Just like the quick reactions to like every political thing that's ever said, every Facebook post drives me fucking insane. If everyone was just like approach it with positive intent, understand the person on the other side is a human that's generally a good person, understand what they're trying to say, what they're trying to get out of it, have some empathy, meet in the middle. Like this would solve like half of our world's problems if people just approach things with like some basic like human decency, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It would. It definitely would.
What do I know? I'm just a guy drinking feminine Corona seltzer beers. I'm switching it up this week, man. I got the Coronas this week.
Yeah, what's the basis for that?
They all taste exactly the same. I just like them. No, I don't know. The basis is I just wanted to try it. Someone said I should try Corona seltzer, so whatever.
Was that a suggestion from the chat or somebody
It
else?
was. No, yeah, it was. Someone like works for Corona, and he hit me up, and he's like, next time you go on, you should get Corona seltzers. Like, fine. Done.
You know, the crossover sponsored by Corona.
No, sponsored by Hard Seltzer. It's
Hard
next
seltzer.
week. Next week I'll try Bud Light Hard Seltzer.
There you go. Nice. Oh, we have some. Here's a fun question. Silly. We had some silly questions. KMC Card says, when is the merch drop for Card Ladder? The merch
Yeah.
drop.
That's like the only thing we haven't discussed as a team, like not even once. I don't know why. Maybe because we feel like merch isn't actual value. It's just sort of like that way that you get money for free.
So no, I think, yeah. I mean, dude, if people really want to wear Card Ladder branded clothing, message us and like let us know
Help
that
us.
that sport exists.
Well, help us. Help us. Like, what's the best site to use or whatever? I have one for Cardboard Chronicles, and nobody's buying the merch. So, like, maybe I'm doing it wrong.
I bought the merch.
I know you did. That's how we actually met up this week in person. Shout out to you and Christina. But that's how I was like in my car waiting for you guys, and I saw Cardboard Chronicles. What the fuck? Oh, like, who the hell is wearing a Cardboard Chronicles sweater in the middle of the summer?
Yeah, that hoodie gets a lot of play for sure.
It's comfy, right? I don't even actually own one of those. You guys are the only ones.
Oh, dude, it's a solid go-to, and I love wearing it to card shops too. It's a great, you know, people read it. You know, is this the YouTube channel or like what is this? You know, it's a nice way to start a conversation too.
Do you have any more silly questions now that I'm filtered in?
I don't want to be too dismissive over some of these, but I definitely put them at the bottom of the list because they just seem kind of weird. Like somebody wrote in, they 2 words. Sean E. Football wrote in Pat Riley. Just 2 words, just Pat Riley. I don't know. I mean,
Nice, Jordan.
well, supporting the content creator game. I know Jordan is a hoarding those. Just has a huge stash of those.
Pat Riley, sweet, thick ass hair.
Yeah, there you go. Good, well said.
Spent all my money on.
Speaking of 90s b-ball cards, he wrote in and said, WNBA cards, Prism boxes will be $300 to $400. Thoughts?
Have fun with that.
That's
you know that
card.
gosh, I'm gonna get in trouble. Women's basketball, much respect, but nobody's watching it. Sorry, it's just not as popular.
Yeah, and when you're talking about something as serious as spending $300 or $400, which is a serious life decision to spend that type of money on something. You want to think about that. But I don't know. Maybe there's a WNBA collector community out there. I just don't know anything about it or what it's based on. But like, if you're doing it as an investment, just really do your homework and think about that one.
Women's basketball, much respect. Those women are extremely talented.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. There is absolutely no doubt about
Yeah, if you think you're good at basketball or you played in high school, you should play against some of those women. One of my college roommate, actually, he played high school basketball, and he was on we went to Arizona State. He was on the Arizona State women's basketball team practice squad, so that the women's team would actually recruit like former high school men's players to practice against, so they could like practice against men to get like prepared for the game. And he said that, dude, he's like, they're tough, man. It's not like they would beat them, but it's like it's not easy.
No, I'd played a few pickup games with somebody who played professional or who had played at DePaul on the women's team, and she was extremely good. Shot was wet from all distances, played tough D, strong, deceptively strong. Women's basketball is no joke. And the girl who came in this year and then she got injured, she was exciting to watch, and I hope she has a speedy and healthy recovery here.
Pokemon cards.
Yeah, we had a question about Pokemon. As usual, a very thoughtful, in-depth question. It came from Drake Sports Cars. He said, "We know that rarity, hype, and performance drive sports card values up and down. We've seen it happen in the major sports. I've also seen that Pokemon seems to be growing bigger by the day. My question is, what factors will ultimately cause an eventual correction in the Pokemon market, and where are we currently at on that curve?"
It'll probably correct back down because there's so much hype on it right now, because Gary Vee was talking about Pokemon and a bunch of people are jumping in, and a lot of people don't have a lot of knowledge into Pokemon. It requires a lot of knowledge because there's no hype, there's no sports behind it. It's just a matter of understanding the sets and like the different characters that matter the most. So it's definitely, you need to do your homework. So like there'll be a correction on people buying the wrong stuff and not understanding the markets properly, but I still think it's a pretty strong long-term investment. Like I think Pokemon is really solid.
Here's a question that came in from CD Cards. Bigger market in 5 years, football or soccer?
I'll still say football.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to Bill Simmons and Russillo last night, and they said the crappy Thursday night football game compared to the Western Conference pivotal Western Conference Finals game, the ratings for the Thursday night football game will probably end up tripling
What?
the ratings of the basketball game.
Are you kidding me? It's LeBron James. You're never going to just... God damn it, people. Watching the fucking Jaguars and the Dolphins over LeBron.
Put some respect, put some respect on LeBron to those people who are making the wrong viewing decision. When we arrived at my house, my dad and my brother had two TVs going, a smaller TV and a bigger TV, and I was thrilled to see the Lakers were on the big TV.
All right.
I like to see that. Usually it's the other way around. Usually football's on the bigger TV.
Could there be a more meaningless football game than that game on Thursday?
No, and it was complete trash. The game was garbage.
I can honestly say, hand to heart, I did not watch 1 second of that fucking game, and I'm so thankful for it because I got to watch my man LeBron play another basketball game, and there's not too many of those left, so you got to keep watching.
Absolutely.
At one point, I was like, I can't watch this game. I'm too, because I want LeBron to win so bad that like it's hard to watch.
Talk about that.
My wife was like, "You're gonna watch it. Shut up. You're gonna watch every second." I'm like, of course I am. Just let me just have my moment, okay?
Dude, talk about having watched this player in so many accomplishments and such. You are perhaps the most recognizable LeBron collector in the industry.
Yeah.
Talk about what it's like, even with an all-time great, watching him and seeing him add to his legacy and riding and experiencing those games. Like, what is that like?
Well, first of all, I've seen every single playoff game he's ever played in, start to finish. And a good majority, as many as I can, of his regular season games. And I always watch the YouTube highlights at the end of the day. I watch all the media coverage about LeBron. And I still get nervous, right? It's almost like I almost treat it like if you were rooting for a family member, you're like, I can't watch, but I have, it's like I have to watch, but I don't want to watch because you're just so nervous and you want them to do well. And it even doesn't even have anything to do with the card value. I just am genuinely rooting for him as a person because I've just invested so much of my time watching him. And I hope all collectors kind of find their PC guy and they can follow the actual games. And we talk about it so much, but if you're gonna collect a player like that, it doesn't have to be LeBron. I'm not trying to say you got to do this with LeBron. Everyone go watch LeBron. Whoever it is, watch their games, man. Watch every game. And I know you guys do this with Luka now. Watch every game that they play. Watch their highlights on YouTube. Watch the 10-minute shortened version of the games and really study their game and understand what they do. I could tell you everything that he's going to do at the end of every game because I've seen it a million times. And I know when I want him to pass the ball away because I can see when he's getting in that little mode where he just comes up and dribbles to 5 seconds in the shot clock and hoists a bad shot. And I'm screaming at LeBron to pass because I've seen it. And I also know when he's about to do the step back three that he usually hits. I'm okay, he's sizing up Jokic. Here comes a step back. I just have seen it so many times, And it's fun, It's a really satisfying thing to have a player that you know so well and you follow their career. And he's only 3 years older than me. But I feel I've almost grown up with him, he's my guy, he's my player, and ride or die, no matter what team he's on or if he's had a bad game, I'll always support him. And it's really fun to have a PC guy like that, to find your PC guy and just really follow him.
That's very well said. I was thinking about something this week, overanalyzing as usual, and it ties into what you said. You've watched every playoff game. LeBron has delivered so many yes moments to you as a spectator and a fan of sports that just made you say yes, just that exuberance. And what if that was the metric that told you how collectible a player was how many times over their career have they given you a yes moment?
So many. And then you start thinking about other sports well, damn, football, a quarterback will give the most yes moments to fans, but they only play half of the possessions in a game, whereas in a basketball game your players delivering more great moments than the other sports are. Yeah.
So I feel the yes quotient is a way to think about how collectible certain players are.
Totally, man. And that's why what you just said points to how I've talked about how key to hobby success is like long-term sustainability. And you get so many yes moments by like doing it consistently over and over. And like Tyler Hero has like 3 yes moments, and LeBron has like 10,000, right? Like that's kind of where it is. And it's
Yes.
no knock on Hero. He could be great. He's had a couple great games. He's very exciting. If he's your guy, stick to him, buy his cards, follow him for the next 15 years, you know?
Well said. Dude, Tyler Hero is a very exciting player. I mean, he's athletic. He's got a great shot. He's
shifty.
He's shifty. I do enjoy watching him play. But yeah, that's.
I need to find my next guy because LeBron's getting old, and I don't know who it is. So
yeah.
Luka's your guy. So let me find someone else. Trae Young, maybe.
I was about to say, I was like, well, dude, the low hanging fruit here is Trae. Dude, let me send a shout out to Card Insights. Dude, you are one of the great hobby content creators, both of you guys. Thank you so much for rocking with us as usual. Lameme James says Trae.
Start everyone in the chat. It's still here. 70 people. Wow, that's a lot. Everyone posts their version of what I'm talking about. Like Chris's Luka and my LeBron. Who's your guy that like you watch every game they play, you follow them, you collect them, you love them, you don't care what anyone else says about them. Who's your guy? Who's your player?
LeBron, old Trae Young.
I can't think of who would my next guy be. Who else would you pick other than Luka?
I don't know, man, because I don't like anything that's even approaching risky. So Luka's more than enough for me. But like, let's say like you took Luka out of the equation, I would probably study players intensely for a year, and then like my conclusion would probably be there's nobody here with GOAT potential, and I just would have wasted a bunch of time.
I'm trying to think. See, okay, this is like the trap that Jordan collectors fall into, where like, and I'm gonna fall into the same thing where I'm just gonna like not like anyone else, and I'm gonna like defend LeBron to the end of time, and people do it to Jordan, and this is why LeBron gets so much hate. It's because like people are so protective of Jordan, and I get it now. You know, like I understand why, and I'm gonna be like Jason Tatum sucks. He'll never be LeBron. Like that's gonna be me.
True that. All right, let me read some of the stuff people said in the chat. We had Russell Wilson, Kyler, Oladipo, Ben Simmons, Luka, LeBron, Curry. Curry is probably a guy I would potentially collect.
Barf.
I know you don't like Curry that much, though.
Well, he cost me 2 championships. Get that.
Kobe and LeBron, Porter, Luka, Tatum, Mahomes.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that was for Kobe, man. A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. He's got a ton of collectors.
Yeah, he does. Jamal
MPJ.
Murray.
What's the MPJ love?
Dude, MPJ's getting a bunch of love here. A Durant.
Durant.
You know, I don't know what to think about MPJ yet, man. Malone obviously has put him in a box with a leash. And like you can only do so much, MPJ. We're only gonna let you do so much. And you focus on defense and like you clean up these other holes in your game, and we'll at least give you playing time.
Man, if I were the Nuggets are down 3-1. Just throw them out there. Let's see what happens. What do you got to lose?
Let him off the chain. Yep.
Yeah. Start him. Play him 35 minutes. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, he hits tough, big shots out of rhythm. He's been doing it throughout the playoffs. You know, he's not
better than Kuzma. He's already better than Kuzma.
He's definitely better than Kuzma. I agree with that.
It's so annoying, man. Kuzma like has gotten worse over the last few years. God.
Kuzma's a guy. Yeah.
Come on.
I remember watching Kuzma in summer league and thinking I like his game a lot. He plays with so much confidence, but either his shot is going in or it's just complete trash. This is why I don't prospect, is because I would like buy a guy like Kuzma.
20 seconds. The thing about Kuzma is that he's not really good at anything. He's just like he's a below average shooter. He shoots too much. All right, good show. See you guys next week.
See you guys. By the way, what happened to Zion? Great question in the chat. Where's the Zion at? Where's the Zion love?
Zion, okay. Yeah, maybe he's the next one. See you guys.
The future is here. An innovation that will change the way the industry works. A Hot 100 chart, updated daily. The most accurate price guide on the market. Every card has its own profile with a wealth of information. Know the precise, real-time value of any card in the system. On demand. You now have the power to unlock the secrets of the hobby. The game changer is here. Card